If you can just get these three things right when brewing coffee, then you can hit the perfect flavor target at home every time because you're neglecting one of these principles. And since they're actually all connected, your flavor becomes unbalanced. In this video, I'll show you how to stop guessing and use these three principles in unison to start steering flavor on purpose. A flavor that's customized to you, not some guy on Reddit. There are a million tiny variables that can fine tune the flavor of coffee, especially when you're brewing small single cup batches. Any small changes from day to day can completely alter the flavor profile. But let's just focus on the three main pillars that do most of the heavy lifting. To understand them, let's use the analogy of a shuffleboard. Shuffleboard is basically just the tabletop ping pong version of Olympic curling. On a flat table, you slide weighted pucks down to a target distance. The main goal of the game is to get points by sliding your pucks in target zones. You don't want to go too short and you don't want to go too far. Think of the target zone as your desired flavor for your coffee. When you're playing to get your puck or your coffee to the target distance, you need to understand the size of the puck, the time it takes the puck to slide down before stopping, and how hard you launch the puck down the board. All three of these are very influential on where our puck lands, whether closer or farther away from our target. In the same way, our three coffee principles are very influential on where our flavor profile lands. The best brewers in the world obsess over perfecting these exact things, but you don't have to be a pro to use them. Once you understand how they work independently, then you can see how they work together to hit your target flavor profile every time. The first principle is ratio, which is simply how much ground coffee you use compared to how much water you pour. If you use too little coffee for the amount of water, then your drink tastes weak and empty. Too much coffee and it can taste heavy, muddy, or just way too intense, even if the underlying flavors are really good. So think of ratio as your strength level. In our shuffleboard analogy, ratio is like the size of your puck. And a smaller puck is a weaker ratio, less coffee. A larger puck is a stronger ratio, or more coffee. To compare coffee and water, we need some way to measure them. You can use volume like tablespoons or weight. I like weight because the scale is just easy and consistent. A cheap small kitchen scale that measures with an accuracy of 0.1 grams is perfect. If you don't have a scale, just steal it from a homeless guy. He probably doesn't need it. Since I usually brew 1 cup at a time, I start by choosing how much water I want, like 300 grams, and then work backwards to find the coffee weight. A super common baseline ratio is 1:16. That means 1 part coffee, 16 part water. So if I use 300 grams of water, I need about 18.8 grams of coffee. But here's where most people mess up ratio. Even 1 to 2 grams of coffee can really change the flavor. You have to be precise and consistent when you're measuring. Just like a science experiment, if you're testing different ratios, you need to keep everything else in the recipe the same while only changing the ratio. Experiment with what strong and weak actually just mean for you and see how each one changes flavor with the same beans. To make this more intuitive, imagine your puck is sliding down the board, picking up flavor particles as it goes. The size of your puck helps decide how much total flavor particles are picked up by the time you finish brewing. That sets us up for the next pillar. Brew time or contact time is literally just how long the water is in contact with the grounds. A short time means water doesn't have long to pull chemicals out. Longer means water has more time to pull everything. But check this out. Coffee flavor is basically a reflection on how much acidic, sweet, and bitter compounds you've managed to extract, in that order. When we brew, there's a target zone where flavor balances out. Enough sweetness in the body to support the acidity without sliding into a harsh, overpowering bitterness. This is completely determined by your beans and their flavor notes. This is also determined by your preferences. Some people just like bitter flavor more, so their target zone is going to be a little farther along than someone who likes sour flavor. Landing in your preferred zone takes skill and strategy. Brew time and our third principle are very connected, and they impact flavors so much that different brewing styles are literally designed around them. Percolation, immersion, and espresso, each with very different brew times. Finding the target distance for pour-overs in espresso is a little more complicated because there's other variables at play that determine how long the water and the grounds are in contact. For now, here's some estimates on average brew time for each method. So far, we've covered size and travel time of the puck. To go further, we need our third principle, grind size. Back to our brewing styles, each requires a different grind size to extract correctly. And that's why brew time is so coupled with grind size. We need to treat these as different lanes with very different target distances. And here's why. Grind size controls how fast flavor leaves the beans. The easiest way to see this is with ice. Between one big ice cube and a scoop of crushed ice, both with the same weight, the crushed ice is going to melt way faster. That is because of the surface area. Coffee works the same way. When we grind beans smaller and smaller, we're increasing the total surface area for water to contact. More surface area is a faster extraction. Less surface area is a slower extraction. Big chunky grinds are like that giant ice cube, slow to give everything up. Fine grinds are like the crushed ice. They give up flavor really fast. Therefore, grind size sets the speed of your extraction. On our shuffleboard, grind size is like the speed or how hard you throw the puck. So what does that actually taste like in a cup? If your grind is too fine, extraction ramps up way too fast. This is the same as sliding your puck too hard, where going past our target is very easy. The cup leans bitter, dry, and ashy dominance of bitter compounds in our over-extracted region. On the other hand, if your grind is too coarse, extraction can be unfinished by the time you stop brewing. Water does not pull enough flavor, leading to a sour, sharp, and thin dominance of acidic compounds in your under-extracted zone. Your grinder should let you change grind size. If it doesn't, I think you got scammed. I won't go into expensive grinders now, but to keep it simple, your grinder should have a few steps in between fine and coarse. Every grinder is different. Some have 10 settings. Mine is 200 because I'm compensating. But here's the rule I want you to follow. If your grinder, say, has like 10 click settings, when being conscious of the flavor, if it's tasting sour or thin, go 1 click finer. If it's bitter or harsh, go 1 click coarser. Take 1 step at a time until you can actually taste the difference. The more experience you have tasting coffee, you should be able to detect smaller and smaller changes. Observe sour versus bitter. Again, when experimenting with grind size, everything else about the recipe should be the same. When you're focusing on one variable at a time, you'll learn more than 100 brews where you're just guessing. Zooming out, we've got all of our variables and principles in place. Ratio, like puck size, sets the strength. The brewing time, like slide time, sets how much we extract. Grind size, like speed or how hard you throw it, sets how fast we extract. Getting really proficient at brewing different styles over different beans is very difficult. Hopefully you can appreciate how all 3 of these variables are actually linked together. In real life, this target zone is kind of uncertain, and it takes time to find it. In my next video, I'll show you how to dial in your beans and get closer and closer with a pour over. Now the strategy is on you. Be precise in measuring consistently. Be aware of how you're experiencing the final flavor and be experimenting with the 3 principles independently. Be competent in these 3 principles so you can make adjustments every day on your coffee to get closer and closer to your target zone. Then you will be a pro.